freaks and ghouls, slashers and psychopaths, scatty cats and scatty dogs. I'm your horror host with the motherfucking most, the headless Glen, and welcome to Graveyard Grumblings, where I talk about whatever the fuck I want. In this video, I'm actually going to an idea that I had a long time ago, back when I was on Versus Battle Wiki, and I was adding a bunch of fables and folklore characters that have all been removed from the wiki now, but back in the day, I used to power scale a lot of fairy tale characters because I found them rather interesting, and I've always been thinking about this specific character just because I thought the feat was rather impressive, but I never actually went out of my way to try and calculate it because I used to think calculations were rather difficult, but once you just look at a couple formulas, or heck, there are calculators online that do most of the work for you, it's relatively easy. And that character is the cow from Hey Diddle Diddle. You know, hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. Now, that feat in particular has always interested me, so I decided to calculate it. And let's just say it's rather impressive. Now, the distance to the moon is 238,900 miles, or 384,472,282 meters, which, since it is there and back, it would be times 2, which would be 768,944,564 meters. Since she is going over the moon, you would also have to include at least part of the circumference, which the circumference is 6,786 miles, or 1.0921 times 10 to the 7th power meters. And dividing that by 2, we get 5,460,500 meters. Adding that to what we have already got so far, we get a total of 389,932,782 meters traveled. Now, for the time frame, since it's unknown, let's use 3 or 4, actually, vastly varying times, that being 1 hour for an extreme low end, just given the time that is seemingly implied by this feat. 1 minute for a normal low end, 5 seconds for a mid end, and 1 second for a high end. Though, I personally feel the lower ends are more accurate, just given the fact that it's a jump and the average jump time is like a couple seconds at most. For the hour time frame, after dividing the distance traveled by 3,600 seconds, which is the amount of seconds in an hour, we get about 108,314 meters per second, which is massively hypersonic, or about Mach 316. For 1 minute, we get 5,498,879.7 meters per second, which is sub-relativistic, or Mach 18,947. And then you get beyond that with the 5 seconds, and you get 77,986,556.4 meters per second, which is relativistic, or Mach 227,366. Now, for the highest end of 1 second, we get a speed of 389,932,782 meters per second, which is 1.3 times the speed of light, or about Mach 1,136,830. But what would surviving this kinetic energy end up being, as the cow is having to survive that by not dying when it lands, which is at least implied? Well, the average cow weighs about 1,600 pounds, which is around 726 kilograms. Using the speeds we have already got, we get the output of, for an extreme low end, we get... Okay, so this one I haven't actually put into scientific notation, so I'm not going to actually read it, but it gets around small town level. For the low end, we get about 1.53 times 10 to the 16th joules of energy, or very high into small city level. For a medium end, we get about 2.2 times 10 to the 18th joules, or high into mountain level. And then for the highest end, which is dubious, ignoring the rules for faster than light travel, which in science would get your kinetic energy to like infinite, so it's a bit dubious. But if we ignore that rule for this statement, we would get about 5.5 times 10 to the 19th joules of energy, or island level, which is insane. So we have a combatant of small town attack potency and durability with massively hypersonic speeds to an island level faster than light monster. Either estimation would destroy most versions of Kong, which, I mean, it's not a huge thing. Even as a Kong fan, I know Kong is kind of a weak kaiju, just in terms of everything, really. And can even destroy a couple of the weaker versions of Godzilla, which would include my boy Godzilla from the TriStar trilogy. I mean, TriStar film. Wish there was a trilogy. And most likely Shin Godzilla, because Shin Godzilla is actually really, really weak. I love him, I do, but he is relatively weak in terms of all kaiju. And the cow possibly matches up against some of the weaker shonen characters. Now, for the match I always bring up, a normal cow would, in my opinion, decimate Eyeless Jack. So the cow obliterates him easily. Just a funny, strong bovine. No wonder the little dog was laughing about it when he saw it happening, and the silverware was running for safety, because this thing is a fucking beast. Quick, before I leave off, the cow would likely have some resistances to heat, such as the heat of re-entry, as well as the various effects of being in the void of space, such as radiation. Anyway, stay frosty.